say a big hello to our friend and colleague and fellow unionist, Niall Fraser.
Hello, everyone. And
Hello,
hello, Alistair.
Niall.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, you're welcome. You're
Yeah.
welcome. How's things at your end of town tonight?
Oh, things are absolutely stellar on my end of tonight. I mean, the rolling circus of the SNP seems to be rolling to a stop, finally. I was thinking about what you were saying earlier on. Oh, it's traumatic for Nicola Sturgeon. So traumatic. I think, and some of your viewers said, yes, it's been traumatic for Scotland as a whole. And hello to Stuart McDonald in the chat, and hello to the person in Dunfermline. That's where I hail from as well. The Nicola Sturgeon yesterday was a performance of a lifetime, wasn't it? She came out and made it all about herself. The woman is an out and out narcissist. She'll turn anything into being about her and her trauma and her victimhood. It's just incredible scenes, Alistair.
Yes.
But hopefully the signs of the circus rolling to a stop are actually coming to fruition now. So it's brilliant.
Yeah, but I watched that brief interview with her in the corridor of Holyrood, and something that I thought was unusual was in the background, John Swinney's standing there, and I mean, he looked like a panicked wee laddie, basically.
Yeah.
You know, his face was not the usual John Swinney, or that you expect. He looked like he didn't want to be there, and he was uncomfortable, and he was worried. You just got that emanating from the screen. And Nicola Sturgeon, I mean, much as I don't like her politics, she is a smooth operator in the way that she can just talk like that, and I mean, she's very good at it. She's had enough blooming practice. There's no question about that. But as you say, she can turn it into poor me, And here am I. I can't talk about this because it's obviously subject to a police inquiry. But I'm sure you understand that. I'm sure you understand it's been a traumatic time for us all. As if it's like, sorry, that's not the way. That's not the way it's meant to be.
The way I put it in a tweet last night was traumatic. Sturgeon's SNP have raped and pillaged Scotland for all it's worth, leaving us broken, bloody and beaten. And it will likely take us decades to recover from her rotten reign. The phony trauma of one woman doesn't compare to the legitimate trauma of an entire population. It's so abysmal the way we've been ran for the last X amount of years that for her to then turn the victim card is just absolutely, I mean, it's predictable, but it is astounding at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. And she was asked as well if she thought that she had any responsibility for leaving the party in such a state to her predecessor, and she didn't seem to have any responsibility about that at all. She managed to say no, nothing to do with me, mate.
Well, I mean, just John Swinney, I could feel the heat coming off his face the longer he was standing behind Nicola Sturgeon. His face just getting redder and redder and redder. And it was similar to the woman who was chaperoning Colin Beattie around before he sort of backtracked on his. I didn't know about the motorhome. Well, yes, I did know about the motorhome. These chaperones, they were like you said, almost guiding them to the lavatory, almost.
Well, that's right. And it's like, who are these people? Because they've obviously are they what they call SPADS, special?
I would imagine, yes.
Advisors.
Very special, yes.
Yeah.
Super special advisors. Basically, they hold the leash almost. And she was sort of she was point guarding who was dictating the questions. She was saying, right, question. Right, Colin, on you come. One. Like she was saying, let's go for a walk to your dug. It's absolutely outrageous the way we're being ran. But the circus seems to be coming to an end. I think you alluded to this opinion poll that we had come up from Dean Thompson in the last 30 minutes. So Dean Thompson is a analyst. Find it. So his latest poll, YouGov subsample. So this is just from an hour ago, guys. And this YouGov subsample puts SNP in third place, ladies and gentlemen. 19%, behind the Scottish Conservatives on 20%, and the Scottish Labour on 35%. So this is, and like what he says, it's Armageddon territory for the SNP. And for the life of me, there's still 19% there. There's still 19% people that we need to get that number down as well. That's 19% of people who are uninformed about the SNP and their activities, who are still willing to vote for the SNP. So that number's going to plummet again. I suspect that third place, they'll be lucky to get third place. I think they'll be looking at a distant fifth or sixth. Even if they're, well, depending on what happens with the audit situation in Westminster as well, they're going to lose almost £1 million in short money. And we hear that there's Stephen Flynn's cold calling auditors all over the country with his yellow pages, trying to get an audit in last minute. So it's crisis stations all across the SNP, in Holyrood, in Westminster, everywhere. And I think that they're waking up to the fact that they are effectively what I deem walking dead. They are walking wounded. That the MSPs and MPs that are currently sitting are zombie positions because they will not return. Absolutely not.
It's a really good point, that as well, about the extent to which they're going to lose the money that the British taxpayer pays them at Westminster, which is huge amounts of money.
Yes.
Per you mentioned £1 million, but it must be more than that per year. I mean, because does that not include? I mean, who is it that pays their staff, for example? Is that called short money?
This comes from the short money. So this is a thing where if this short money doesn't come through, we're looking at instant layoffs. They won't be able to afford to pay their staff. And I mean, that's the only thing that the SNP have ever had going for them, is paying their army of sycophantic, sort of dogmatic political mercenaries. I was talking about these influencers the other day as well. The figures came out on a Freedom of Information request. Last year, I think it was 2.8 million was spent across social media from the Scottish Government on social media influencers, which to me are just basically political mercenaries. And Kelly Given, in the clip that you played, is 100% one of them. So she, me and her have had run-ins before. I think I called her out on one of our insane tweets, and then she instantly made it about sexism when I didn't mention sex at all. But that's the go-to sort of racist, misogynist, sexist. If you're not going to win the argument, just throw those words in there, and then you've won the argument. Aye, of course.
Well, I don't engage with those types at all, but for those reasons that you can't really win because they're just to call you nasty names. But I saw one of them whose name will remain nameless, who's actually gets interviewed on the BBC and STV and things like that. And she put out a meme a couple of nights ago that showed a guy on the ground getting beaten over the head with stuff, and on the guy's body was written the word Rangers, I think.
Yeah. I know the exact meme that you're talking about.
You know the meme, and one of the guys who beaten her, it was
like, the Queen's dead.
Queen is dead, and it's this. She gets interviewed on the telly, you know, and she gets treated as a serious commentator. And you and I, as far as I know, we haven't yet appeared on the BBC for our considered opinion, which is considerably more cultivated than hers. Mm-hmm. So how is that? How does a person like that get on the telly and, like, you know, like your granny's switching it on at night and listening to this girl's opinion? I mean, I know, that's appalling.
It's appalling, one, because it's a regurgitated opinion. It isn't her opinion if she's paid to say it. This is the thing about me and you, Alistair. We're not paid by anyone to shill a certain message. We just do it because that's the way we're programmed. But the person in question, as if Rangers fans are the only ones affected by the Queen's death, for one. Two, it's almost a cult of violence against Rangers fans. But this is the grievance manufacturing thing that happens on Twitter. The girl in question, the lady in question, she gains, if you look at her Twitter following and analytics, she will gain a lot of followers by posting this controversial stuff, backtracking it, and then just regurgitating it every couple of months. So, I mean, this is a game they play, and they know they're playing the game. So it is quite sick because...
I've noticed that on Twitter. Twitter rewards the lowest common denominator type of comment. You know, if you just tweet out something if one tweeted out something that's like swearing, full of typos, not properly thought through, and doesn't actually make any sense, it'll get like 300 retweets, be seen by 50,000 people, 4,000 likes. If you tweet out something that's spelt properly, makes a coherent point, really hits home, and you send it out, you'll be lucky if you get 2 retweets. You know, that's been our experience. You know, we've built up a following, but we are kind of, I don't know if we're shadow banned or whatever, but we don't get... I know if I just started swearing and spelling words wrongly, our tweets would probably do better.
Through the roof, Alistair. I think that's the game. It's a game you need to start playing. I've done a similar thing with the Sandyford protest, and where I purposely got wrong Castle Grayskull. So they said, I said that the Sandyford was like Castle Grayskull, the evil place, knowing that Castle Grayskull was the home of the good guys. So then I got all the trolls saying, "Oh, you don't even know your He-Man literature," you know, just to get a wee bit extra sort of comments on Twitter. But this is the types of psychological games that you play on Twitter. But it is really funny just winding them up.
It's a good point. It's a good point. But you're on Twitter, twitter.com/Niall Fraser. Niall Fraser.com, and you're also on Substack. How is your Substack going, by the way?
Substack's going really well. I think I've morphed into what I'm calling audio articles, whereas I'll just dictate what I've read, and it'll you can put the speed up to 1.5 or 1.75 or whatever, just to make it simpler for you. It's easier to listen to someone than read, I like to give people the choice. And then I'll probably branch into video content as well. But the Substack's going really well.
Can you
get a lot of responses
for the sake of some viewers who might not be aware what Substack actually is, can you, as somebody who's attempting to take advantage of it, just explain what that actually is?
So Substack is like a subscription type freelance journalism app, or that you can connect into Twitter. I think there is a wee bit of issue with Substack links going to Twitter now with Elon Musk, but before that, effectively, you are your own journalist, so you can write whatever you want and just post it, and people can choose to subscribe to it if they want. You can add in audio, you can add in video, you can do what you want. So it's effectively like it's almost like a YouTube page specifically for journalists or content producers that are leaning more on the written side of things than video content.
And when you say subscribe, do people pay? Is it monthly or weekly or what?
So my Substack in particular, I think it's like £4 or £5 a month. Most of my articles I put out are for free. So if you want to jump onto the Substack now, you can read. And I think there's only one article I've got that is paid, and it's because it's a series I'm working on called Escape the Matrix. So that's the only one that is off limits for people to know, but everything else is free effectively. So if you want to jump on and listen to what my ravings, please do.
Well, I like the sound of that, Escape the Matrix. The Matrix being the system that dominates our lives. How do you define the Matrix?
Well, the way I define the Matrix is the sort of the narrative control that we are currently sitting under. So the SNP have got their narrative control, and what I'm getting at is that we've been ran on a succession of scams, and the first one being the gender scam, and the most important one being the gender scam as well, because everyone can identify what a man and a woman is, but the and to a certain extent, they're intrinsically repelled from this gender ideology. So this is why it's the most important area of the scam. But if we're attempting to escape the matrix, which is the system of digital control and sort of narrative control, we need to understand what's going down. It's like if you ever seen the Truman Show, Alistair?
Oh yeah, that's some film I was advised by a colleague to watch it, and it it's like what we were subject to for those 2 years just recently.
So this
Yeah.
the Truman Show, for me, it's like it's one of the best films ever made, and he how does Truman escape the Matrix? So Truman escapes the Matrix by understanding that he's in it. So this is a problem. We need to come to understand that we're in this sort of paradigm before we can escape it. This is what I'm getting to in my 3-part series. It's a very complicated sort of thing to escape the Matrix, but
Well, it's so important because if you don't, then it's can be bad for your mental and physical health.
yes,
Especially when you look at some of the things that are going on, there's a tendency to which one can feel powerless and without agency to do things about, and that's certainly come out very strongly for some of us in the last 2 or 3 years. And when you see things that other people don't necessarily see, it can be a bit of a burden as well. And you need to figure out how can well, you say, escape it, or be in the world but not of the world, as the biblical injunction has it. So I suppose it's something that many have suffered with from the dawn of time, since creation, but it's certainly something that seems to be becoming ever more important in the last few years. It's just, I don't know if something's changing in the atmosphere or what, but you just feel crikey, the time, and the more and more people are like this now as well. More and more people are coming to these sorts of realizations that something's not quite right here. So it's great to hear that you're putting your brain to that. That would be a considerable piece of work when you've got it done.
it's I keep going back to the film, but it's like you get on all these clues. In the Truman Show, you've got obviously it's just one man, and then the whole set, the whole studio is actors. But then he starts to see wee things and pick up wee things, and I think for us, the wee things that we're picking up is this gender bill, is the failing justice system, the blatant lies we're being told about biological sex. This is our version of the actors in the show. These wee things that we're saying, this doesn't quite go with the reality that we're living in. In fact, it's totally opposite to that reality we're living in. So it's understanding these wee intricacies and then sort of pinning them all together, and then understanding the wider picture in order to escape the matrix, like Truman does in the boat.
Yeah. Well, just talking about the gender thing there as well, and I watched Tucker Carlson, who gave a speech a few days ago, and he mentioned that, and he said that's not something that's any more part of just like normal political discussion. It's beyond that. It's something that's. It's not, this is just a left-wing thing or a right-wing thing or whatever, and we can debate whether this is right or wrong. This is like just, you're basically trying to change humanity. That's taking it to a whole nother level. And what happened within 24 hours, he lost his job as America's biggest news presenter on Fox News, which is a supposedly right-wing channel. They got rid of him.
So I think they shed almost 900 million in market cap straight away as soon as the announcement was that Tucker's left. I think he and then the rumours started swirling that it's a Tucker, a Trump Carlson presidential ticket, and I was like, oh, that's pretty exciting. So I mean, Tucker's bang on. This gender thing does transcend all politics, and it's true. It's like a social engineering type activity. It's got nothing to do with politics, really. It's about changing human nature, and this is a thing where we just must resist it at all cost.
Yeah, and as you say, it's got nothing to do with political ideologies. And indeed, talking about the American presidential election, on the Democrat side, we've had the announcement this week, which I think is very exciting, about Robert Kennedy Jr. standing as a Democratic candidate.
Yes.
And I mean, some of the stuff that he's saying
His speech
is
was fantastic.
incredible stuff. And he's talking, of course, about the trying to always figure out a way of saying this word without the YouTube algorithms picking it up, but the sort of things that you put into your arm with the end of a needle. And he's pointing out the dangers of that to an extent which is extremely bold. And I wish him safety for his message. But we can expect that the mainstream media, all the mainstream media, will try to, including Britain, including the so-called right-wing newspapers, will try to promote him as some kind of kook, K-O-O-K, some kind of nutter, but in fact he's bang on.
He said in his speech that he was going to scatter the CIA to the winds. And I think if you look back in history, I think his relative was shot for that.
Well, arguably both his relatives. Yeah, yeah. But so he's very brave as well for doing that. He's extremely brave. So I wish him the best in his efforts as well. Although what we'll probably get, of course, is Joe Biden winning again, but this time with like a 300 million majority.
Yes, that's what I think. There'll be more votes cast than the population of the USA.
Yeah,
and it'll win by a landslide. It's similar to the desolation that's going across America. Is very similar to the desolation that Scotland's facing, whereas we've got Nicola Sturgeon being the sort of Joe Biden puppet figure, just leading us on this merry circus run all the way through Scotland, and no end in sight. But the people are waking up, as evidenced by this poll by Dean Thompson. Imagine the polls saying that the SNP are in third place behind the Scottish Tories, guys. This is incredible news, and I think I might have a wee dram the night after that. So thanks for Dean Thompson for bringing that up.
Oh yeah, it'd be absolutely tremendous to see. And having said that, time changes everything, and things can go south for us all very fast. In fact, was it who was it I saw today? It was actually in this article that I quoted earlier from David Frost, and he said that probably Scottish nationalism is no lower than 30%. Yeah, certainly a hardcore 25%, I would say. But he says that is enough to keep nationalist parties significant players in Scottish politics, indeed the leading players if their vote does not split between SNP and Alba. And if Yusuf becomes a tartan Liz Truss and Kate Forbes returns, the mood could change quickly once again. And that's the thing with politics, is the mood can change quickly.
Yes, the wind's ever changing us. There's such a fast pace up here in Scotland. It's every single minute of every day. It seems there's a new twist, a new plot twist in the ever-going saga of Scottish politics. Yesterday, Colin Beattie backtracking it is almost before it leaves his lips, and all the journalists saying, "You can keep up, guys."
Yes, exactly. Well, look, there's going to be so much, as you say, to talk about, and so we'll want to get you back on again whenever you're available to talk about it, because that's at least one good thing about politics, is one's never lost for anything to talk about. But let's give you a mention at niallfraser8.substack.com. and twitter.com/Niall Fraser. That's NIALLFRASER 8. Twitter.com, Niall Fraser 8. Good stuff that you put on there. We follow each other, and if anybody else is out there on Twitter, please give Niall a follow and you won't be disappointed. Niall, thank you very much for coming on the show tonight and for your wit and wisdom.
No, it's been an absolute pleasure, and thanks for having me, Alistair. And a great show as always. And again, I must commend you on your quality of merchandise. This wee coronation badge is absolutely sublime. So hopefully I'll pick one up at this one of your stalls in the future. But
yes,
it's absolutely gorgeous merchandise. So I can't commend you enough.
Great stuff. Well, thanks. And we'll be having a street stall in Glasgow this Saturday, folks. And if you want to join us, do send us an email and we'll tell you where. Okay, now we'll say good night. All the best to you.
Good night, folks.
Cheers.